Yeah, so I think that when I was doing researches through, was researching through like organizations and stuff like that, I think most of it at the time I was playing came from just playing against other people and seeing what type of brand of baseball you wanted to play. And growing up as a kid, I always respected top tier, and it always looked like something to it looked like the pinnacle when I was playing as a young kid. And so I tried out when I was 13. Wasn't really developed enough to make the team yet, so I tried out at 13, didn't make it. Kind of worked towards that. Okay, this is where I want to go. This is where This is where I want to end up being. And then at 15U, I ended up making that switch over to top tier full time. Well, I think it just starts from like my foundation, like who I was raised by with my parents, right? So I was the first of four kids. And I just always was taught by, as a young age, like lead by example. So if I wanted this to be my goal at 13 and I get cut at 13, well, now why would I stop and like cut away from that vision per se? If that's what I wanted, right, being the oldest of four, I can't, quit and then show that representation for my younger siblings. So when I had the opportunity and I saw the writing on the wall, I kind of looked at it more as an opportunity than a challenge, right? And I think that's where it kind of started at a very young age, was with my parents, and then them raising to me like, hey, you have your eyes on something, you have your goal on something, don't run away from it. See it as a challenge, and then make that challenge an opportunity. So that's why I think I stuck with it. I think it was just like a return on investment, from the standpoint of like, I had seen so many names up to that point, and I seen a lot of guys in the 2017 class that were already making their brand on this type of baseball. Because that was one thing I did. I did a lot of research, and I just seen like Jimmy Burnett, Bobby Seymour already making their, step where I wanted to go, which was the Chicago Catholic League, any of those schools. And I had seen what they were doing, and I wanted to be a part of this. You can almost call it, you don't even have to call it, it is a culture here. And when I decided to finally make that jump, it was like, okay, now I'm in these doors. I want to make a name for myself. And the guys like the guys that before me, and even in 2016, and when I was coming through those realms and I saw them at winter workouts, I said to myself, I want the same return on investment that these guys are having. And the list goes on and on. From that 2016, 2017 class, we have a lot of Division I players, and there's guys that are still playing in those classes. Yeah, that's why I'm kind of smiling. It's like, because still to this day, I care so much about it. Like, when they represent those teams and when you represent something bigger than yourself, it's like you're not doing it just for yourself. Yeah, you want to create a foundation for yourself, and that's what top tier does, but they've already created a foundation for their organization. And that's why when they, the very first day that I came here was expect greatness. It wasn't expect greatness in your performance and play. It was more expect greatness in the things that you can control. So that's why when you wore that American jersey, or it doesn't even matter what jersey you wear in top tier, it's like you have the opportunity to do something better than you, and you get to learn how to grow. You get to learn how to fail. And it's like, you have that opportunity of just creating a relationship-based status and getting the best out of yourself without even knowing it. And that's what top tier provided for me. When I would walk in those venues, it's like, wow, like there's people looking at this organization as a pedestal as others, because we have represented ourselves well, but at the same time, it's like the actions speak louder than words, for sure. Well, for me, I think that top tier really set two of I would say my pillars of my foundation. And the first one is like competition, and that's like just a word that everybody says. So I guess I'll define it in the way that I saw it here, is like the will to compete. When I was going in these practices, it was like when you walked into the max, it wasn't just like, hey, I'm coming to practice. It's like, no, I'm competing for something every single day, because nothing's given to you. Just because you were an American last year doesn't mean you're going to be an American this year. And just because you were a second teamer last year doesn't mean that you can't be an American here. And it's like, some guys go through different growth spurts, some guys do this, that, whatever. And it's like, that is such a non-given thing that you have to work every single day. And I think one thing that at the time, Griffin Phelps, who was my coach, and I don't think I'd be out here without him today. He did a really good job of having me understand, hey, like, you're committed to a Division I school right now, but that doesn't mean that you're going to have success at a Division I school. It was like the perfect amount of brotherly love versus like constructive criticism. And that was what really helped me. And even Plant, he was my 17U coach. Just like the guys that were front staff here, they just helped me see, okay, this is what you want to do. Now go be a better version of yourself so you can go make an impact at a 4-year Division I school. Because at the time I was obviously stayed there, I was committed to Missouri State. And they helped me compete on an every single day basis level. And I think that's what top tier does so well here is you're always competing. You're always looking for something more. And there's no such thing on these walls as satisfaction. Another thing that I think top tier did tremendously well within those practices was teaching someone how to prepare. That's also just a word if you don't understand how to apply it to your everyday life. So for me, it was like, preparation is a discipline, and if you don't do it in a disciplinary fashion, you're not going to get anything out of it. The way you sleep, the way you hydrate, the way you recover, the way you lift, the way you take care of your body. These were things that I learned here at top tier. And at the time it was a lot of running, explosive work, hitting, throwing, all this stuff that I still apply every single day, because it was like, okay, you have to prepare to get what you want on that return on investment, for sure. So those are the two things that really stick out to me, and I apply in my everyday life. Yeah, so that was a big decision for my parents, being the first of 4, and it kind of really opened their eyes into travel sports, as all my younger siblings have done that as well. Younger siblings as in sisters, none of them are brothers. But when my parents almost let me into this realm, they gave 100% trust into guys like Matt Plant, Todd Fine, Griffin Phelps at the time. Just because, look, my dad played college baseball at a very high level, but at the same time, he was very, very selfless and said, hey, I've been out of it for a long time. It's now time for you to learn from others. And I think that was a really good mesh between father and son and coach, because it was hey, I'm still going to give you tough advice as a father, but at the same time, you have guys like these guys that are still in the game all the time, and they have those connections, right? And it's not all the time you have to be really rah with your dad, but and then my mother was hey, these are very valuable lessons that you can learn from these guys. So when they gave essentially, top tier the keys to the kingdom, there was no reservations. They just let me play. And that was something that I was very, very fortunate to have, because this is probably the best organization in the state, due to the fact that the coaches care so much about the players, and they want the players to make the best representation of themselves. So they're going to put in 100% conviction, 100% positive attitude, and 100% of just effort to make that player the best player they can. And that's why you see the actions speak louder than words here, for sure. And it's the amount of professional players, the amount of people that get an education from this place is second to none. To put a family at ease in this organization, it's really not that hard. I think you just have to trust. It's a very cliche saying, but you have to trust the process. I mean, look, I got cut at 13. A little fun story about my 15U season. I was an American, but my dad dropped me off at my last practice of my 15U winter workout, and he said, don't leave any doubt. And I made the American team, and my coach at the time, who's the 15U Americans coach at the time, he pulled me up over to the side, the third tournament, and he said, hey, I just want to let you know you didn't make the American team until your last practice. I really didn't know who you were. And it's I think why you have to trust the process so much in this game is because your son is signing up to play a game that is surrounded by failure, right? The game's hard. If it was easier, everybody would play it. Now everybody probably wants to be successful at it, but at the same time, you have to understand that this is going to be a very, very challenging game. And like, there's a reason why Hall of Famers hit 300. Like, do you think they worry about the negatives? No. And I think it's just the same principle as the big leaguer who's trying to hit 300, or the little kid is like, you have to be able to willing to accept that, okay, today's not going to be his day, and you can't be always mad that it wasn't his day. Because at the end of the day, like I said earlier, these coaches do care more importantly about the well-being of your sons versus, look, hey, he's got to be a Division I player as a freshman in college or high school. See, that's not realistic for everybody, because boys are growing and it's just different. But if I can tell you this much right now, if the kid knows the fundamentals before he knows how to compete, then that's where it starts to become a reality. And that's where you get, and I think that's why you get a return on investment in this program, is because at this program, you are taught how to compete. You are taught how to have perseverance. Some places, most places don't teach that. And a lot of kids buy into this program because they've seen people do it. Like when we have these alumni talks, a lot of these stories are different, and that's what makes it awesome, is no story is the same. And a lot of people get to experience different stories. And I would just say trust the process, and that's how you get the return on investment. It's some days are going to be, better than others, and that's a given. And you just got to roll with the dice for sure.